Things just got a whole load worse for Meghan Markle because her sister Samantha ain't going anywhere.
I do believe because there are no delivery certificates.
What if the royal love story was nothing but tricks and illusions?
In my opinion, she would still be a waitress if it wasn't for Dad.
What if Meghan Markle's carefully built image, the loving mother, the bold duchess, the modern royal voice, wasn't just overhyped, but fully created and designed from the very beginning?
This scandal comes as no surprise. Speculation about the children has been simmering for years.
For years, Meghan has shown herself as the outsider who broke through tradition, the woman who changed the rules of royalty.
I grew up as an only child, which everyone who grew up around me knows. I would have loved to have had siblings, so I'm so excited to be pregnant so that Archie has someone.
But her own half-sister, Samantha Markle, says that the whole story is nothing more than an act.
And there's a very big difference. It was deliberate.
And now the cracks are starting to show. This isn't just family drama. This is about lies so big, they could shake the whole foundation of the royal family.
This crisis won't die down until the irrefutable truth comes out.
This isn't about bad press or gossip stories. This is about claims that Meghan didn't just twist the truth. She created a completely new identity.
Like, why lie? It was just so truly bizarre.
Silence everybody and just produce a DNA sample.
An identity that doesn't match reality, doesn't match royal tradition, and if revealed, doesn't match the future of her own children. Because when a mysterious woman comes
People think her
forward
kids are
saying
fake,
she
they
was
think
the
they're
real
AI.
mother behind Meghan's picture-perfect pregnancies, the question isn't whether Meghan can give another interview. The question is, can the Duchess survive the truth?
If you had those things, it would be very easy just to put them out there and say, this is what happened. You know, this is what it is.
Samantha Markle didn't step into the spotlight to complain about being ignored. She came in swinging, tearing down the shiny image her sister built piece by piece. From the moment she spoke, Samantha flipped the story. Meghan isn't a victim of the press. She's the creator of her own false empire. Samantha called out what millions have whispered for years. This isn't real. It's theater. A Hollywood script wrapped in royal lace.
I'll tell you why. What she told the royal family, what she told Harry, wouldn't have jived, wouldn't have been consistent with the truth.
According to Samantha, Meghan didn't just push her family away. She erased them like they were unwanted footnotes. Every biography, every interview, every carefully staged humanitarian photo op is, in Samantha's words, less about truth and more about propaganda. Meghan didn't step into royalty with grace. She rewrote her own story to fit the role, cutting out anyone who didn't match the image. Family roots erased, struggles changed, and motherhood. Samantha says that's the crown jewel of the con.
When she said, I lost my father, we knew that she didn't lose our dad, she iced our father.
This isn't a bitter sibling rant. It's a direct hit at Meghan's credibility. Samantha doesn't present herself as a jealous sister, but as the one finally breaking the mask, leaving no middle ground. Either Meghan's story is true, or the Duchess has been living in a costume so convincing it fooled the world. And just when people thought Samantha's claims were shocking enough, the story exploded. Out of nowhere, a woman known only as DL came forward. And she wasn't throwing rumors, she brought proof. DL didn't arrive with gossip or guesses. She came with hospital bills, medical records, and talk of a strict non-disclosure agreement. Her claim? She's the real surrogate behind Meghan's royal pregnancies.
So all of the pictures, my point is, out there were inconsistent with the idea of a real pregnancy.
According to DL, Meghan's glowing baby bump walks in the spotlight were nothing but smoke and mirrors. She claims that while Meghan posed for perfect Instagram moments in fancy coats, DL was the one truly carrying the royal airs, alone, hidden, and silenced. She says promises of privacy and fair payment quickly turned into betrayal. The royal fairy tale, DL suggests, was a cover-up so polished it erased her from her own story. And the images cut deep. While cameras flashed on Meghan cradling a staged baby bump, DL claims the real story was happening in secret clinics in private houses. Out of sight, out of mind. If even part of her story is true, then Meghan didn't just bend royal tradition. She turned illusion into a weapon, using motherhood itself as her biggest costume yet. At first, DL's claims sounded like tabloid talk, just another crazy rumor for the press. But then came the details. Not vague hints, not recycled gossip, but clear stories of secret meetings in California, contracts signed in back rooms, and months of isolation that felt less like pregnancy and more like being locked away in a royal vault.
And I thought, what is she not contextually aware? She's trying to hide something. This is really sloppy pool.
DL describes things in a way that's too detailed to brush off. She talks about the loneliness of carrying two royal heirs while being erased on purpose from the story. This isn't some random internet troll hiding behind a screen. DL shares details about postpartum health problems, huge medical bills, and the heavy burden of being denied any recognition. And that's where the gossip turns dangerous. Suddenly, Meghan's glowing speeches about women's empowerment sound empty when compared to DL's story. Because if her version is true, Meghan wasn't lifting women up, she was burying one under a gag order. For years, critics called Meghan the actress-turned-duchess. But DL's words take it further. She says Meghan wasn't just acting like a royal rebel, she was acting like a mother. And the more DL explained, the harder it became to laugh it off as just a conspiracy. Her story didn't only attack Meghan's image, it threatened to rewrite the entire royal story. You'd think with such explosive claims, Meghan and Harry would rush to shut it down. A quick denial, a public statement, even a DNA test could crush the rumor instantly. But instead, silence. Loud, deliberate silence. And in the court of public opinion, silence doesn't look like dignity. It looks like suspicion.
And when you're pregnant, there's not a pillow under your skirt. And there's live footage of her walking towards camera with her abdomen swaying left to right in a black and white checkered dress.
DL publicly said she was ready to testify under oath, hand over her records, and even allow DNA testing. Yet the Duke and Duchess acted like nothing was going on. No explanations, no honesty, not even a weak denial. For critics, that silence wasn't classy. It was calculated. Because if there was nothing to hide, why let the world keep guessing? Even Harry, once called the rebel prince, now looks either like a partner in the secret or just a pawn in someone else's plan. Did he know the truth all along? Or has he been fooled like everyone else? Either way, staying silent makes him look guilty. And that's the irony. The couple who built their empire on speaking their truth suddenly lost their voices. Not silenced by the palace, not stopped by tabloids, silent by choice. And that silence might be the loudest confession of all. Royal births aren't just private moments. They're public traditions built on centuries of transparency. Diana walked out of St. Mary's Hospital just hours after giving birth, glowing but tired, holding her baby, showing the world there was no mystery. Kate did the same, 3 times, with flawless hospital step photos that honored the ritual. But Meghan? She broke the script. No hospital steps, no quick press briefing, not even a clear answer about where the birth happened. It was secrecy piled on confusion, wrapped in a PR disaster.
I think the palace and the machinery of the monarchy needs to take Harry and Meghan more seriously and make sure that Harry and Meghan's antics don't impact the future of the crown.
Imagine 2 innocent children caught at the heart of a constitutional storm.
Then came the photos that didn't make sense, the timelines that didn't match, and of course, the infamous folding belly clip that still circles online like a ghost that won't go away. Critics say that instead of following tradition, Meghan staged her version of motherhood like a Hollywood movie, with props and carefully planned camera angles. For royal watchers, this wasn't a new chapter, it was a broken pattern. And in the monarchy, broken patterns cause suspicion. What Meghan and Harry called privacy looked to many like hiding, and every time they ignored royal protocol, it added more fuel to conspiracy theories that were already burning. Because when you strip away the glamour, one question is left. Why did Meghan's royal motherhood look nothing like anyone else's? This is where the whispers stop being gossip and start sounding like a constitutional crisis. Because if DL's claims are even partly true, the question isn't just who gave birth to the children, it's whether those children even qualify under centuries-old succession laws. Royal bloodlines aren't based on feelings or PR spins. They're based on proof, lineage, and transparency. And when transparency is missing, legitimacy is doubted. Tradition says heirs are born from the royal womb, witnessed and recorded, leaving no room for doubt. But Meghan's pregnancies were hidden in secrecy, covered by NDAs, and surrounded by missing timelines. If surrogacy was involved but never admitted, critics argue it could shake the royal line of succession itself.
A royal physician was not allowed to examine her womb. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but if I were pregnant with a royal child, you would want that child in the best care of the best medical practitioners that money could buy.
Imagine two innocent children trapped in the middle of a constitutional storm, not because of who they are, but because of what was allegedly hidden about how they came into the world. And the monarchy doesn't work with half-truths. It works with absolutes. Either Archie and Lilibet were born following centuries of royal protocol, or the whole story collapses under the weight of lies. That's why this isn't just family drama anymore. It's a possible crisis that could shake the very institution Meghan once said she was modernizing. When most people are accused, they clear their names. Meghan and Harry, they call their lawyers. As soon as DL's claims started spreading, reports say the Sussex legal team went into overdrive, firing off threats to the media, warning anyone who tried to repeat the story. But here's the problem. The threats came, yet no real denial ever did. Not once did Meghan or Harry say, "This is false. Here's the proof." Instead, they defended themselves with intimidation, not evidence. And the irony cuts deep. This is the couple who built their empire as truth-tellers with interviews and documentaries, yet when faced with the easiest challenge, disprove the surrogate story, they chose silence backed by lawyers. To critics, that doesn't look like power, it looks like fear. PR experts ripped the strategy apart. Legal threats might scare off newspapers, but they don't silence the internet. They don't stop whispers. And the lack of denial only made DL's story sound less like gossip and more like the truth being buried. Because in scandals like this, the issue isn't just what's said, it's what's left unsaid. And Meghan and Harry's silence speaks louder than any lawyer's letter ever could.
In this case, about whether you think the birth was real, whether you think there was a surrogate, whether you think Meghan was wearing a moon bump, the fact is, Harry and Meghan lied. Buckingham Palace lied on their behalf. There was a complete cover-up over the birth of Prince Archie.
Once the silence dragged on, the tide started to turn. Polls began showing a harsh shift. More and more people started to believe DL's story over Meghan's carefully shaped narrative. The once strong Sussex brand, built on shiny documentaries, big interviews, and staged PR moments, suddenly looked weak, like a house of cards in a storm. Oprah's Sit Down, the Netflix series, the speeches about truth and authenticity, all of it got pulled back into the spotlight and replayed with doubt. What once looked like empowerment now felt like performance. Behind palace gates and Hollywood mansions, whispers grew louder. Meghan and Harry weren't just fighting the press anymore. They were losing the public. Insiders painted a picture of a couple under attack, not from tabloids this time, but from their own crumbling credibility. Allegations popped up about tension at home, about Meghan and Harry living more like business partners than husband and wife, struggling to keep the brand alive while the base fell apart. And Samantha didn't miss her chance to twist the knife. To her, this wasn't karma. It was truth, finally revealed. The Duchess who promised to rewrite the royal story now stood accused of writing the biggest royal fiction of all time. And until Meghan answers, that silence will echo like a guilty verdict. So here we are. Samantha Markle's accusations cut deep. DL's alleged surrogate story exploded, and Meghan and Harry's silence became the loudest answer of all. What started as whispers of family drama has now turned into a possible constitutional issue, a PR nightmare, and a collapse of credibility no Netflix deal can fix. The Duchess once sold herself as a symbol of truth, strength, and reinvention. But the longer these claims go unanswered, the more the story shifts from inspiration to illusion. And that's the tragedy. The fairy tale Meghan tried to control is no longer hers to write. Every unanswered question creates more suspicion. Every legal threat without denial makes the silence heavier. And every day without clarity, the so-called modern royals look less like rebels changing tradition and more like actors holding on to a fading script.